Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and today I have another recipe video for y'all. But first and foremost, I do want to give credit where credit is due. This is not my recipe. I got this recipe from the blog, Hey Keto Mama. I will link it down below in the description. But today we are going to be making keto fathead pizza pockets. So the other day when I was cruising through the grocery store, I saw those like hot pockets that come in the little cardboard things and you like pop them in the microwave. I want those. I really wanted to eat those. So instead of, doing something stupid and picking those up out of the freezer section, I found a recipe that's going to fulfill that craving, but at the same time, it is going to be a keto diet friendly. I am super pumped about this recipe. I bet it's going to be great. You really can't go wrong with fathead dough and cheese and sausage and pepperonis. Like, you really can't go wrong. So let's hop into this fathead pizza pocket recipe. The first step that we need to do is preheat the oven to 400 degrees. We are going to start off by making our fathead dough. But the thing about this fathead dough is that in this recipe, they use instant yeast. I have never used instant yeast in a fathead dough recipe, so I'm kind of excited to see how this turns out. So let's get started grabbing our ingredients and putting them together. To make this dough, you're gonna need two different bowls. A larger bowl that your dry ingredients will go into, and then a smaller microwavable safe bowl as well. And this is what we're going to use to melt our cheese in for the dough. In our larger bowl, we're gonna begin by adding 3/4 of a cup of almond flour. Up next for our dough, we're gonna add in 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum. So xanthan gum, a little bit goes a very long way. It's a thickener. So we are just going to measure out these 2 teaspoons and add them into the dough. Up next, we're gonna add in 1 packet of instant yeast. There's always a bow sitting there waiting to make sure that I do this okay. Additionally, into this dough, Cody got this all-purpose seasoning. It's basil, oregano, garlic, and sea salt. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that into the dough for some flavor. But I'm also going to add a little bit of extra salt as well. Now what we're gonna do is take a spatula and mix these dry ingredients thoroughly. Now that we've mixed up our dry ingredients, we're gonna go ahead and add in 2 eggs. Now that we've added our 2 eggs, we're just going to mix everything together. Now that I've got the dry ingredients and 2 eggs mixed together, we're gonna set this to the side and grab our microwave safe bowl so we can get to the cheese. The next thing we're going to do is add 1.5 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese into our microwave safe bowl. Up next, I'm adding in 5 tablespoons of cream cheese. And now we're gonna microwave this in 30-second intervals and stir it between every 30 seconds until this is a nice, very melty cheese mixture. We're gonna start microwaving our cheese. After I've melted this for about 1.5 minutes, stirring every 30 seconds, it is time to add this melted cheese into the mixture we made a few minutes ago. So now we're gonna grab this and add this cheese into it and mix it into a nice dough. Now that I've added my cheese into my dough, we're just going to start combining this together. All right, so I have wet my hands and I am just going to work on kneading this mixture for probably 5 to 10 minutes or until it's nice and mixed together and there's no really telling between the cheese and the dough. Most important step is making sure your hands are wet and maybe re-wetting them throughout this process so that this does not stick to you. I have been working this fathead dough for a couple of minutes now. So basically this recipe makes 4 servings. So basically what I'm going to do is with wet hands, I'm going to split this dough into 4 sections. And then I'm gonna put each ball of dough over here on a piece of parchment paper, flatten it out into a circular shape, and then we're gonna stuff it with some pizza ingredients. So let's go ahead and split up this dough. Like I said, super important to wet your hands so this does not stick to you. And I'm just kind of evenly splitting it apart with my hands, kind of just making it work. So now just going to get my little ball. I'm just going to set it over here on the parchment paper before we flatten it out. I wet my hands again for about the 100th time, and now I'm just going to flatten these into circular shapes. And you're gonna wanna make kind of a slight indention in the middle, which is where we're going to stuff our ingredients. All right, so now is the time where we are going to fill these babies with deliciousness. One thing I do want to note is we cannot put pizza sauce in these as much as it would taste good. You need to use it as a dipping sauce instead, because if there's wetness in this fathead dough, like that marinara sauce or whatever pizza sauce you would use, it's just not going to cook correctly. So a couple minutes ago, before I started this recipe, I cooked some mild Italian sausage. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add a little bit of sausage into each. Now we're going to add a little bit of mozzarella cheese into each one. And lastly, a couple pepperonis in each. All right, ingredients are done that are gonna go into the middle of this pizza pocket. So now is going to be the hardest part. We're going to wet our hands for the millionth time now. We're just going to fold over the dough and try to make it into basically a pizza pocket. So definitely wet your hands, let's get started. And you can kind of pinch the dough together and it helps it stay closed. And then once I have it into this nice little round form, I'm just going to place the seam where I closed it up on the bottom. So hopefully we'll get a pretty top on these. So the very last step before we place these in the oven is I just got the egg whites from one egg, and I have one of these little brushy madoodles, and I'm just going to lightly baste each pizza pocket in an egg wash. That just helps them turn into that pretty golden brown color as they cook. And just like that, I have completed the process of making these 4 little pizza pockets. So like I said earlier, I preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and we're gonna place these puppies in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. So let's get them started. I can't wait for these to be done. I just pulled these pizza pockets out of the oven, and oh my golly, they look perfect. So these cooked for 20 minutes at 400 degrees, and I think that was just right. They look phenomenal. And now we're gonna do a little topping glaze type thing over the top to just really kick them up a notch. All right, so in a mug, I just melted 1 tablespoon of butter. And to this tablespoon of butter, I'm gonna add some more of this like Italian all-purpose seasoning. So just going to add a little bit of that into the butter. Going to take my basting thingy-majig and just going to baste the top of these little pizza pockets with this melted buttery deliciousness. And last, but certainly not least, we are going to sprinkle the tops of these with some Parmesan cheese. And our pizza pockets are done, and they need to cool before we can try them, but oh my gosh, I am so ready to dig into these. Oh yeah, check out the inside of these. It literally looks like bread on the outside. That's pretty awesome. I can't wait to dig in. Before Cody and I dig into these for dinner, let's give it a quick taste test. Oh my God. This is good. Wow. What do you think? You like it? Mm-hmm. It tastes like Sbarro pizza. Final verdict on those pizza pockets. Cody and I just devoured them. They were absolutely fabulous. That little butter and Parmesan topping on top of them just like sealed the deal. They were delicious. We dipped them in a little bit of marinara sauce that I had left over in the fridge that I've been wanting to get rid of. So got rid of that. It was a great dipping sauce to go with them, and it was marvelous. Give this recipe a try when you have the chance to make it. You will not be disappointed. It was so, so good. Anyways, I hope that y'all enjoyed this recipe today. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel down below if you haven't done so. And I will be back again real soon with another video. Bye guys! Mwah!